Episode 124, A Big Disappointment. I usually tell a funny dad joke, if there's such a thing, about now, but couldn't come up with one, so I'm turning to AI to tell me a dad joke.
I was offered a construction job in Egypt. It turned out to be a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, that's horrible. I could never come up with anything that horrible. All right, welcome to the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki G. I'm here to inform and delight your ear holes with all things off-road for the next 10 minutes or so. Why 10 minutes? Because that's how long I have until my sausages are done. And yes, I am making sausages again. I think I said that one time before, but this seems to be a pre-sausage ritual. Any of you clowns out there that have anything to say about me leaving my sausages unattended and burning, I like to boil my sausages about halfway. I boil them for about 20 minutes and then I finish them up on the grill. This way I'm not there at the grill for a half hour watching sauce. Although, you know, cooking brats on the grill, how hard can that be? But anyhow, this ain't a cooking show, or it could be. I could talk about camp cooking. It's a off-road show, and this week I went to the Tazwell Jeep Fest up in Southwestern Virginia, which is not really Southwest. I guess it's the Northwest Virginia, because it's right there on the West Virginia line. But it's very confusing. I keep calling it the Southwest Virginia Jeep Invasion. But anyhow, it's in Tazwell, Virginia. It's a nice drive up there. It takes me about 3.5 hours to get there. I allot for 4 because I dilly-dally and I stop. And it was a pleasant drive. I left early in the morning. It was decent. The Jeep ran great. I had air conditioning almost the whole way. There was a few steep hill climbs where the temperature creeped up a little bit and I had to turn the AC off. But other than that, it was very pleasant. Got off the highway and turned onto a road, and I saw a car that was smoking. I thought it was on fire. It was a newer Cadillac. And so I pulled over and I was about to grab my fire extinguisher, and I just noticed the guy was standing over it. And usually, you know, if a car's on fire, you run. The car was smoking. He was standing over it. His wife or lady friend was in the passenger seat. So I decided to investigate before I pulled out the trusty fire extinguisher. And sure enough, his plastic thermostat housing just like blew apart. Never seen that before in my life. We found all the pieces to it, and he was going to try to tape it together. And so I left him some duct tape that I had, and some RTV, and a gallon and a half of water that I have for just when radiators explode, and left him. I asked him if we need to call a tow truck or something. He said no, he's good. He's just a few miles from home. I was gonna sit and wait with him for the engine to cool down, but then I thought, I got places to go. He's in good hands. He's not on a deserted highway or anything. And he didn't seem too concerned about sitting on the road waiting for it to cool down, or even calling a tow truck or trying to get somebody. But anyhow, pressed on to the Jeep Fest. It's held at the Tazwell County Fairgrounds. It's a nice venue. And I got there, and I gotta say, right off the gate, as soon as I got there, I was kind of disappointed. Last year when I went, and last year was the first year I've been there, and I had a great time last year. And they just let all the Jeeps park together. If you had a Jeep, you just parked in this big field with all the other Jeeps. Now, if you registered for the show and shine or to win trophies, whatever, if you registered your Jeep, they gave you a number, and you put a number in your windshield, and people voted on whether it was, prettiest Jeep, dirtiest Jeep, all those silly categories that they have. And this year, they parked just the Jeeps that registered, and I had to park next to a minivan and a Toyota Tacoma. And, not bad. I'm not bashing those vehicles, but it's a Jeep Invasion. Wouldn't you want all the Jeeps to be in one big field and make it look even bigger? So I had a problem with that off the get go. Last year they just let me park right next to all the other Jeeps, and I had a good time. It was like a big party. This year I felt like we were kind of separated from the people that contributed to the show and the people that just came to spectate. I will say there was a lot of Jeeps, probably about as much as there was there last year. I don't know what the total number was. The food trucks they had there, they had some food vendors. Of course, they had ice cream and shaved ice, and they had two food trucks that were noteworthy. I had the I'm not going to say his name, but I had the greasiest, worst hamburger I've ever had in my life. Uh, and I love hamburgers, and I'll eat the crap out of hamburgers. And I had tater tots, and if you know me, you know I love tater tots. Even there's no such thing as a bad tater tot. Even if it is a bad tater tot, it's still tater tots. And so I had the worst meal I ever had, and I was disappointed in that. And so I decided to check the vendors, and they had maybe they said they had 60 vendors, and I could believe it. Only about 5 of them Jeep and off-road related. A lot of them was like local arts and crafts. It was more like a farmer's market than it was a Jeep show. So I was kind of disappointed in the vendors, disappointed in the parking, disappointed in the food choices. The other food truck was another barbecue place. So yeah, if you didn't like barbecue, you were screwed. But who don't like barbecue? Walking around, you see all the familiar faces, all the Jeeps that are just exorbitantly built, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on just to go to shows like this with all their gajillion ducks. I did see a couple of old Willys Jeeps, a couple of really, really nice YJs, and I saw a TJ that had like 35,000 actual miles on it. And so I'm assuming he trailered it there, but it was beautiful. What I didn't really see were the XJs and the MJs. The Cherokees and the Comanches. There were a couple of Cherokees there, and one or two was built really, really nice. You could tell they were trailer queens, and the other few were just average, like mine. Just people build it to enjoy, and they enjoy it, and they just decided to register it. I think next year I might register my Jeep. Not that I really care about winning anything, because I didn't really even stay for the trophy stuff, just to so I could park with the other Jeeps. Now they had they had the raffles. I didn't buy a raffle ticket. Like I said, I really wasn't too involved. I did buy a Jeep T-shirt. I bought one from the West Virginia Jeep Club, which, and I'm not trying to bash anybody, but they didn't seem too friendly. They were like, "Hey, I'd like to buy this shirt," and they're like, "Here you go, $5. Get out of my face," basically. Uh, so much for Southern hospitality, and I might have caught the guy at the wrong time. So anyhow, vendors were sparse. Food situation wasn't that good. It just seemed like it wasn't. It was organized more than last year, but it just wasn't organized well. It's hard to say, hard to describe. So I did see a stereo competition, seeing who they weren't. Some weren't really loud. Some had some really awesome quality. I commend these guys on the work they put into the sound systems on their Jeep. I like the rumble of the soft top and the groan of the oversized mud tires. Who could, when you're driving an XJ, you can't hear anything over the rattles and squeaks anyhow. So stereos are a commodity. So with that being said, I ended up leaving the Jeep Fest early. I only stayed about 2 hours. They had camping available there, and I did purchase a camping spot, and it was cheap. It was only $24 for the weekend. But I looked at it, and they had RV sites that I can't remember how much they were. But before I decided to park into the camping area and set up, and I was prepared to spend the night, it was in a field in the blazing hot sun. I didn't bring a tent with me, so I'd have to sleep in the back of the Jeep. It just didn't look fun. So I opted. It's right on the edge of the Jefferson Forest National Forest. So I opted to just take a jaunt down to the forest and see if I could find a camping spot. And I found some beautiful roads that I went down and enjoyed. I'll talk about in the next episode. But the long story short is I didn't stay long at Tazwell at the Southwestern Virginia Jeep Invasion. I'm going to go again next year, and if it's not what I had last year, if I don't have the experience I had last year, then I think I'm going to write it off, because that's kind of a far drive for nothing. Although I did do some last year when I went, I explored. I went there on, I think I took a Friday off, or I had Friday off. So I drove out there, spent the night in the National Forest, had a great time exploring a bunch of roads. Spent the night, got up in the morning, continued on to Tazwell, got to the Jeep Invasion, had a great time at the Jeep Invasion, talking to people. And it really turned me on. And this year I was looking forward to that, and I didn't get it. So if I don't have a good time with it next year, I'm just going to write it off. Although, like I said, I do enjoy exploring an area that I normally don't go to. Because 4 hours, 3.5 hours drive is kind of far. But, for some people it's not. To me, I enjoy driving. I don't like driving long distances in a convoy because I drive an XJ. So I'm slow up the mountains, fast as hell coming down them. Frequent gas trips, frequent eating stops, and frequent uneating stops. So, all right, I have rambled on long enough. Until next time, this is Nikki G saying, wheel what you got and be happy.